The issue that we're talking about here is that there were some pigs that were tested, and there's some that appear to be positive. But as any kind of a situation that pigs might enter the food chain, there's two things that happen. I mean, there's certainly anything that exhibits any kind of illness symptoms when they go to slaughter is rejected. So if in fact anything appears to be ill, it is rejected. Beyond that, there is absolutely no risk for anybody ingesting a pork or pork product of an animal that has had H1N1, because it is a respiratory disease, and people don't eat lungs. They don't eat the trachea. They eat the meat, and the disease does not affect the meat at all. So there's not a chance of it being transmitted or contacted or contracted by people in any way. Yeah, I mean, we can't say anything with certainty, but the reality is it would appear that it was much more highly likely that the pigs acquired the problem from humans rather than the other way around.
And why is that?
Why is that? Because there was a lot more sick people than there certainly were sick pigs. I mean, we had literally a couple hundred people running around the state fair that were sick. But I think Dr. Bender should give you some issue or discussion there.
Yeah, just to reemphasize a couple key points. And I think you're bringing up a very interesting point. These pigs were not sick, and they were sampled as part of a research project. So the intent was to know what was happening with those pigs at that point in time. Our intention was not to follow these pigs out. So, it's a very obvious question and a very good question, but that, we weren't looking for those pigs on the way out. The other thing that Commissioner Hugoson points out, the fact that, again, this virus behaves like it does in people. It only lasts for a couple of days, and then they get better. And in this case, the pigs weren't even ill at all. And so, for the most part, we wouldn't even know. Many of us probably are exposed to influenza and really do not develop any illness as well, or significant illness, so we may not even know it. Yeah, so that's a good question. Were these pigs just contaminated, or were they infected? We really don't know that. Basically, this was a procedure where we're taking nasal swabs in these pigs. Again, these pigs are not ill, and we just found virus there. So is it replicating? Is it causing illness in these pigs? We don't know. Should they have a stepped-up concern? No, I think the thing that is critical to remember is that, as you know, and you guys have been covering this, is that we've got widespread novel H1N1 in people right now. It's not unexpected that it spills over into pigs. We know that pigs can get this virus. There's a chance that this interchange can occur. Basically, this virus behaves like it does in people. So probably the take-home message is that is a little bit more on the farm side. Is that if you're ill, you shouldn't go to work. You should have some mechanisms in place to probably provide some mechanism or with your farm manager to say, I'm not ill, or I'm ill today. I have a fever, and I probably shouldn't be going to work. And that's one way we can protect the pigs. The other thing that we really want to do is, just like with humans, we want to encourage folks to get vaccinated. And the same thing we're discussing in the swine industry is the need for vaccination, the need for better security, the need to work with the veterinarian if your pigs are sick to prevent continued spread within that herd. That's a very good point. Is there the chance that there could be this recombination? The big thing we've always been concerned about influenza. Yes, that's something that's the reason why we're doing this study. We're wanting to look and identify these viruses and see if they do change, how rapidly they change, how easily they move between species. So yes, that's something, and that's the reason why we're doing this research. Now, I think you bring up a good point, is that this virus is really adapted to people. It moves fast. Right now we're at very high levels within the state. I can't recall now how many schools are currently reporting high level activity, but this clearly demonstrates the fact that this virus is well adapted to people. So, and I guess that's the reason for the ongoing need for research and surveillance in these areas, both on the human side and the animal side, to watch these viruses, watch how they behave. Are there ways that we can interrupt that cycle? That's a good point. So here, why are we getting the news now? And the fair was basically the end of August, early part of September. Again, this was a research project. These swabs were taken both at the Minnesota and the state, or the South Dakota State Fair. We batched those samples, and then when laboratory capacity, when we get around to them, we're doing other influenza viruses and things, and we just happen to be getting to them, and that's why we reported to our counterparts at the Centers for Disease Control in the U.S. Department of Agriculture on October 14th. It's not unexpected. We've been anticipating this. We know that this has been found in a number of countries already, or at least novel H1N1 in pigs in a number of countries. So we were kind of anticipating this. It's the first, though, so it's novel in that case. Yeah, good point. Exactly. The reason we're doing this research is really to characterize these viruses, understand how there's the interrelationship between animals and people, and how these viruses can move back and forth. And that's right. That's why we're doing this research. That's a good point. So yeah, just walking in a swine barn, does that mean you're exposed? Frankly, we don't know, and I would probably say no. Really, we're focusing on basically people and their animals who are really in close contact. So really incidental contact or just walking in a barn, is that exposure? No. If you look at where historically when swine influenza virus is transmitted from pigs to people, they're rare, very rare events, and normally they occur usually when folks have pretty much intimate contact with those pigs. You know, in the state of Minnesota, the pork industry is very important. Part of our work, and actually this work couldn't be done without their cooperation. So my thanks to them and their willingness to participate in this. Yes, this is one of the things that just like we're looking at from the human side of it, we're looking at the animal side. How can we prevent swine influenza transmission? So what mechanisms can we put in place to prevent that transmission in herds themselves? Part of that key thing is people, and because people can bring it into the barn, and to make sure that we have some mechanisms in place there, and that's part of the message that we try to work with our swine producers on.
Sure. As far as surveillance goes in Minnesota, the way that works is if a pork producer, has pigs that have influenza symptoms, they will call their veterinarian and examine the animals, and then if they think it's appropriate, they will send samples into our laboratory, our Minnesota Veterinary Diagnostic Laboratory here on the St. Paul campus, and those samples will be run to do surveillance for them. And the other thing we talked about today with the state fair is that we want to make sure that all the people that brought pigs to the state fair know what's going on, so that they can take the appropriate action with their herds and with their families. So we will be following up with all the exhibitors at the fair as we move along. Yes, it's information that we have now, so we want to make sure that now that we have that information, that we get it to them if there's any need for it. What they could do is watch for symptoms in their pigs, and also we're talking with the Department of Health, Dr. Scheftel, about what the people in that family might do as well.
What we're most concerned about with people is person-to-person transmission. There's really no, this virus is spreading in Minnesota communities right now by people to people to people, and it's just really important that people stay home when they're ill. As far as this finding, there's not a lot of public health significance to it because there's no food safety issue. You cannot get influenza from pork, and it doesn't. This situation doesn't mean that the virus has changed. The only people who swine workers are the only people that really have contact with swine, and the swine industry has been really, really good about educating their workers about staying home when they're ill, about using what we call personal protective equipment if pigs are sick, or actually all the time when they work with pigs. This doesn't have a lot to do with the public health at all. Not really. We knew that all the time that swine were susceptible to this virus. It's been identified in swine herds in many other countries, and it's not been shown to transmit back to people at this point. Like Dr. Bender said, it's really a human adapted virus at this point. It's a virus of people, and it's being transmitted from person to person.